Hello, welcome to FOREX Live Talk. I'm Dmitry Kucher. Oil prices fell as the latest news showed further eases in geopolitical tensions in both Ukraine and Iraq. At the same time, gold closes below 1300 for the first time in 2 weeks as a reduction in geopolitical tensions diminished safe haven demand. Besides improved sentiment on geopolitical tensions, investors were also delighted by some positive economic indicators. As you understand, today we'll focus on commodities. Andrew Masters, the Australian analyst and financial expert of FIBA Group, is my guest today. Hello, Andrew, and nice to see you again.
Hi, Dim. It's good to be here again.
Andrew, today we'll focus on commodities market. And just maybe tell us a few words about the oil prices. Why exactly the oil prices fallen so sharply recently?
Okay, we could probably attribute that to probably two factors. The first one is the economic situation in the world at the moment, and we do have some pretty depressed economies at the moment. But probably the main reason is the geopolitical situation in the world at the moment, and in particular the three wars in Ukraine, Gaza, and Iraq. Although there are three wars going on at the moment, there's actually been some compromise found in each of the situations. Firstly, in Gaza, there has been a truce announced between Hamas and Israel, which has really calmed the situation there. The second one is in Iraq, where the authorization by President Obama of airstrikes against the rebels has significantly slowed down their progress. And also in Iraq, most oil is, in fact, 3/4 of the oil is concentrated in the southern part of the country. And the conflict hasn't even reached this part of the country yet. So that's been able to depress the gold price also. And thirdly, in Ukraine, we had a statement by President Putin who said that he doesn't want to make enemies or feel isolated from the outside world. And most analysts took that as an indication that he just won't directly intervene in the conflict in eastern Ukraine. So those three bits of news have really put pressure on the oil price as people feel a bit of stability floating around.
Thank you. How do you think, what are some of effects of lower oil price?
Well, probably the first one is lower petrol prices, which everybody likes. Lower prices at the pump means more people will drive. But looking at it from another side, we can see that usually when there's a war or a conflict that the oil price should actually go up. But this time around, it's actually having the opposite effect. And that's really affecting Russia at the moment, because in the 2014 Russian budget, they planned for $104 a barrel. As soon as the price fell below $100 a barrel, they needed to find extra funds in order to keep their economy going. So it's not really good for them. And also, each $10 that the oil price falls, that's a price of $20 billion out of the Russian budget, which is also another big minus. And thirdly, we've even got one analyst saying that if the price falls as low as $75, which I don't think is impossible, we could possibly see a regime change there because there'll be so much turmoil.
How do you think what is going to do Russia if the gold prices will continue to fall?
If the oil price continues to fall, they may just have to rethink their strategy. Maybe their strategy of supporting the rebels in eastern Ukraine and creating instability is just not a good way to go, and they might just have to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you. Is the latest economic data from around the world having an effect on oil price?
Okay, well, we can take the three biggest economies and take a look at it. Firstly, out of Europe, their second quarter Eurozone has dropped very big. If we look towards China, in the last week, they've had some quite depressing economic news, especially their imports into the country. And thirdly, if we look at the US, there's just mixed signals coming out of there at the moment. 1 week it's up, the next week it's down. So people really don't know what to think yet, so that is really putting pressure on the oil price, as well as the three biggest economies are just not concretely improving.
How do you see the future of the oil prices?
Okay, again, a little bit of economic news, but let's be realistic, it's really going to be driven by the geopolitical factors in the world, and if we see any one of those three conflicts escalate, we can really expect to see a spike in the oil price.
Thank you. Okay, as you understood, we just talking about the commodities and the gold, especially gold, and where does how do you think what are the main drivers of the gold prices at the moment?
Okay, well, gold has actually fallen a bit in the last week. It was trying to push through 1,350 US an ounce, and today it's hovering around 1,300. And the reason for that is that people have in the last week seen signs of an improving US economy, and for that reason they tend to move their money into US dollar denominated assets. And the US dollar usually works in the opposite direction to gold. So when the dollar goes up, the gold price tends to pull back a little. But we do have an unusual situation at the moment in the geopolitical conflict, and that is that when there's a geopolitical conflict, people tend to run to dollars and to gold. So it's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. At sometimes the gold and the dollar are actually going up together.
Is there still a demand for physical gold as now as were predicted in the first half of the year?
Yeah, Dimmy, you're right. Most analysts in the first half of the year were predicting a substantial increase for physical gold in the second half of this year. But according to statistics released last week, there was a 16% fall in the demand for physical gold. And most of that decrease for demand came out of China and India, which of course are the world's biggest buyers of physical gold. So that was completely unexpected.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned the geopolitical factors affecting the gold price. Are there any steps being taken to address these issues?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I mentioned earlier in the program, in Gaza we have the ceasefire. Also in Ukraine, the leaders have agreed to meet on August the 25th in Minsk. That's including Putin, Poroshenko, and a few other leaders, to really try to discuss and diffuse this situation. And also in Iraq, Obama is continuing to step up these strikes, and I think it's only a matter of time before he puts a complete halt to this. So yeah, there's definitely been some steps taken to diffuse the crisis.
How do you think the gold price is? Where is gold going from here?
Well, we can look at that also from a number of ways. I want to start off with some good news. We all know George Soros, the famous hedge fund investor. Recently, it's been known that he's buying up a lot of gold mining stocks or funds. So obviously, he's very bullish on the gold price. From the economical and political factors, the main driver economically will be numbers purely coming out of the US. If the US keeps improving, I think that's going to put pressure on the gold price. And obviously the opposite, if bad numbers come out, the gold price should rise. And on the political front, as with the oil price, if we see an escalation in any of the conflicts, I think people are going to run to gold as a safe haven.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming again.
Okay, Dimmer, thanks. See you next time.